All right, gang, it's time to dive into some Savage Land shenanigans. This is Wolverine issue 70. And you can tell by the cover, Wolverine versus Sauron. Print date on this was June 1993. We open up on a battle already in progress. But nonetheless, as I always say, I appreciate old school writers particularly would at least kind of give you an idea of what's going on, even though this, like, let's say if you just pick this off the rack and this is your first Wolverine comic, you're at least going to get a sense of what's going on and then maybe entice you to pick up the subsequent book and then continue onward. I thought this little excursion to the Savage Land was going to be light stuff. But then I got to go and have myself a throwdown with Sauron, who has just decided to make himself Grand High Muck-a-Muck of this Balwick. What's the matter, big face? Your mutating barbarian buddies don't like you anymore? Is that why they're backing off? My minions are not retreating, you fool. This is Tooth and Nail. Larry Hama script. Dwayne Turner pencils. Richard Bennett doing the inks. Pat Brosseau doing the lettering. And Steve Buccellato doing the colors. And Bob Harris was the editor. And Tom DeFalco, editor-in-chief. Some basement you got here, bub. Must have one heck of a heating bill, huh? It is the floor of the citadel that recedes. Don't mock the chasm of fire. It will soon be your tomb. Damn, do I miss these 80s, this is 90s, 80s and 90s and some 70s splash pages like this, guys. It just, you get that first page kind of setting you up, letting you know what's going on, and then bam, we actually see the predicament that Logan is in, and damn, is that beautiful artwork right there. And this is the type of Wolverine stuff that we used to consistently get, and why we always buy these damn books regardless, because we just loved it. Sauron sure has learned a few new tricks about stagecraft. Now, real quick, this is what we kind of talked about with Hulk 181, where we had the omnipresent narrator. And for those of you that didn't watch the video, hold on. It's a little bit easier. Now, I'm going to preface this. I'm not saying Larry Hama's a bad writer, but I just want to show the difference, what's been kind of happening from the late 70s up until the 90s. So let's go back into Hulk 181 real quick. Instant recap department. Old Greenskin's been lured to Quebec, Canada as part of a fantastic plan to cure the wild-eyed wood beasts called the Wendigo. But where the Emerald Man Brute is concerned, nothing is predictable. So instead of curing Wendy, the Hulk is embroiled in a battle with him. A battle that rages through the forest until this godly garbed gentleman introduces upon the scene, claws bared, teeth clenches, his face awash with almost feral fury. Then we get the dialogue. Now, the reason I want to point this out right quick, as the 70s gave way to the 90s, I miss that third-person omnipresent narration. Because all it did was it set the scene and had you kind of feel the predicament that Wolverine was in. And I don't know when this started changing from where we'd have that third-person narrator kind of giving us an idea so that our characters could breathe, do their dialogue, have their thought balloons, and move on. Now, they are running double duty of having to do the inner thoughts while we're trying to keep up with the modern dialogue. And this panel not this one, because this is absolutely gorgeous. So let me kind of preface this. So let me not preface, sorry, I haven't had enough coffee. Just listen. Sauron sure learned a few tricks about stagecraft. A new costume might win over a muscle-brown brain like Barbarous, but it takes trotting out the whole dog and pony show and a pair of old weasels like Equilibrium and Amphibious. The trouble is, it's just not for show. Standing on a solid floor, Sauron can only come at me from above. Now he can attack from below, and that means he can get behind me in ways I'm not ready for. Slink! And he gets, what's that word called when they slash you there? Hamstringed. Now, don't get me wrong. We're feeling the intensity of what Logan's trying to think. But after we just kind of saw, let me do one more page, just kind of make sure that you all know that I'm not just blowing smoke out of my ass here. Where is it? Hold on. The most awesomely powerful leg muscles on Earth propel the green behemoth across the glade to plow with staggering impact into his shaggy foe. Hulk has come, little friend, to help you beat Wendigo. Now, we're getting the narration, dialogue, thought balloons. Don't understand why that big green brute suddenly thinks I'm his buddy, but it's a little misconception I can make use of. Now, I don't know if maybe writers were just trying to make the books more sleek, but if they would have turned these, like maybe condensed the dialogue just a little bit and made it thought balloons and saying something like, the soaring demon from hell swoops about Logan. Something along the lines. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, guys. Slowly finding the angle at which he can exploit Wolverine's weakness. Diving from below, he finds it. Something like that would have just really added. And is this, to me, that old school that we just went over, I feel like it's a craft that is slowly dying. And I miss it. Because that was like the true form of comic books before everything as 90s gave way to 2000s and onward, where comics feel more like Netflix shows on pages, for lack of a better term. And that's why I miss these earlier books in that regard. So while Wolverine is trying to take over this newly kinged Sauron, Jubilee ends up in her own trouble. On the other side of the Savage Land. Help! I wish I was safe and sound back at the camp instead of dangling off a ledge over the bottomless gorge. I wish this ledge wasn't crumbling. And she ends up on one of the, I guess, pterodactyls. Whoa, stop, hill, down, cease, chill out. God. One thing I will say, like they get Wolverine, what's her name? Jubilee's look. But then you look at this one and it just, that face of, derp. You need a mind link to control the flyer, little ones. And so that kind of sets the whole thing. And then again, we go into Jubilee's thoughts. It just would have been interesting to have the thought balloons again. And that's just a minor bitch. But man, this artwork. Oh, I miss consistent, awesome Wolverine artwork like this. You got another thing coming. Let's get to Claw City, you plucked turkey. And then, of course, Rogue gets captured. And right now in the Savage Land, this is what kind of trips me out, is Rogue normally would be able to bust through this. Let me get this straight, Brainchild. You and Gaza came snooping around in the ancient citadel and saw somebody who didn't want to be seen. And that somebody put a block in your brain so you couldn't remember him, and he struck Gaza, who's already blind speechless? Cease your jabbering, Rogue. I'm trying to think. So I'm a little confused on why she just didn't bust out, because the Savage Land, and again, help me out. This is where I don't know if maybe my headcanon gets a little screwed up, because in the animated series, when you're in the Savage Land, you didn't have your powers. Now, I can't remember, is that true in the comics? Because I look at stuff like this and I'm like, well, why can't Rogue just snap through the chains there? This sounds like the fella me and Wolverine and Jubilee came looking for. This sounds like no. Mustn't say his name is forbidden and is blocked. He is the prime flux. You're trying to distract me to facilitate your escape, a ruse that might succeed against a lesser intellect. One who hasn't been touched by an entity who raises iron from the bowels of the earth. Don't forget that your bonds are wired to my genetic transformer, and if you break them, okay, so there it is. Okay. But she breaks out, punches a mutated lizard. Oh, God. I can tell that I watch too much TikTok, because then I'm like, lizard. Oh, my God. And it's just, after that, it's a cacophony of madness. Rogue and Brainchild, Wolverine and Sauron, Jubilee, essentially becoming one of, I cannot remember what they're called. They call her the Little Great Heart Warrior, but I cannot remember what hold on, where is it? An Outlander. There it is. The little one has established a mind link with the flyer. No more is this an Outlander. This little one is one of us. Back to the Eyrie. Call out the wind drums. Break open the festive kegs. We're having a party. I can't remember what the tribe's called. I think it's Khazar. or Khazar, however you want to pronounce his names, people, but I don't remember what their tribe is called, if you could help me out as well. But nonetheless, Wolverine does end up in a pickle at the end of the issue. So this is one of those ones where it was just a lot of fun, a lot of action, a lot of energy, and I just have a little bit of bitches because I'm old and I like to complain. You know, I like to buy an apple at the store and then try to return it with a receipt that I bought with a coupon. Anyway, with that said, definitely up your alley, guys. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever you get your action figures and comics and pick up this issue. And if you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Savage Land bell next to subscribe, that way as I get to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure the links down in the description. And with all that said, guys, if you do enjoy what I do and you want to support the channel, I love the PayPal link also down in the description. And if not, I still appreciate you watching this video. Either way, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.